Welcome back to the program. Before the news, I kind of gave you the Coles Notes rundown on a story that hit the airwaves and online on Thursday of last week. The Quebec Appeal Court has ruled that the 40-year parole ineligibility for Alexandre Bissonnette, the man who shot and killed 6 people at a Quebec City mosque and wounded 5 others. They've ruled that his 40-year parole ineligibility was unconstitutional because he was sentenced consecutively for his crimes. He pleaded guilty back in 2019. The shootings happened in 2017. And this means that he will only have to serve 25 years before he can apply for parole. This does not mean that he's going to get out after 25 years from prison. No, it just means it's at that point that he can apply for parole. As I said in the last segment, I don't think they should have changed this. They should not have struck this down. I'll be interested to see if an appeal of this ruling goes forward. I hope it does, because we do have some other individuals who have committed atrocities recently. You have Justin Bourque from New Brunswick and the shooting and killing of 3 RCMP officers there. He has a 75-year parole ineligibility. This ruling by the Quebec Appeals Court has implications for other cases. It's not just this case. And to me, the parole ineligibility that was set for Alexandre Bissonnette and for Justin Bourque, it speaks to denouncing their actions. That's what that is to me. And to change that, I understand they're saying it's unconstitutional. I don't think it is. But then again, I'm not a legal expert, am I? But someone who also feels that the Quebec Appeals Court has missed the mark on this decision is Fareed Khan. He's the founder of Canadians United Against Hate, and he joins me on the line now. Fareed, thank you so much for your time today, and it's great to chat with you again.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for having me back.
Anytime, absolutely. And this story, when I first found out about it on Thursday, I was off work that day, and I was shocked that this was a decision that was made. I didn't even know that they were appealing his parole ineligibility. I can, only imagine what your reaction was, given what I know your take on this is from the writing you've done on it. But I was very surprised. I can imagine you were as well.
Oh, yes. I was shocked to see it, and it had reverberations across Canada, particularly within the Muslim community, given the heinous nature of the crime that was committed by the mosque shooter.
Absolutely. And this is, a story that broke hearts across Canada and internationally. It was, a terrifying thing to see happen. And it's just not the type of behavior that we want in our society. And to me, setting that parole ineligibility at 40 years was an extra pronouncement of that, saying we're not going to tolerate this. This is the sort of consequence you're going to see if you behave in this way.
You're very right. But the thing is that the Crown had actually asked for 75 years for parole ineligibility, and the judge set the sentence at 40 years. And then the appeals judges decided that no, that 40 years was still too much. And the two sections of the Constitution that they used to justify reducing when he would be eligible for parole were Section 12, which protects against cruel and unusual treatment and punishment, and Section 7, which guarantees the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. So my question to those judges would be, what about the cruel and unusual treatment and punishment that was received by the people who were killed and shot? 6 dead, 19 injured and scarred for life. And where was their guarantee to life, liberty, and security of the person? It seems like the judges totally disregarded that, and of course this affects the victims' families who are, seeing an injustice done again in the way that the judges handled the appeal on this case.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Fareed. And my heart breaks for those families that are going through this process now again. And, at least at the end, at the conclusion of a court case, you may not always get the outcome that you would have hoped for the most, but there is some finality to it. And at least it's being able to close that chapter. But now with all of this dragged up again, there's more uncertainty. It must be very trying for them to go through this process.
It is. There's already been reactions within the Quebec Muslim community as to, what this means. This is a province not only where 6 Muslims were killed while peacefully worshiping, but it's also a province where Muslims feel like they're under assault by the government in power, because this is also the province where the Bill 21 secularism law came into force, and it does affect Muslims in a very large way. So there's a feeling of being under siege in the province of Quebec. One would hope that the justice system, which is supposed to be above politics, would take these factors into consideration. Plus, of course, the fact that this was a mass murder, and leave the sentence where it is. But now the can of worms has been opened, and as you mentioned in your introduction, it's going to affect other cases across the country, not just the Justin Bourque case, but also the Robert Pickton case out in BC, where he received more than a life sentence for the mass murder of women out there. So this has repercussions across the country, and I think that that Canadians should be worried that mass murderers are able to basically get out. Like in this case, the man who committed the murders in Quebec City, he was in his 20s. He is in his 20s, and he could be out by the time he's in his mid to late 40s, and that's a very unsettling thought.
It is. And experts have said, this doesn't mean necessarily that these individuals will be released. It's just that they will have the opportunity to apply for parole now much sooner than they might have. And even that process for families to go through parole hearings and to have submissions given again, it's so taxing, and it's so much for them to relive the horrors that they've already gone through already. It's a lot. And to speed up that process, that's very difficult for them.
Yeah, no doubt. The families are going to be, thinking about this. I mean, 25 years at some point, it seems like a long way off, but, for the children who were just kids when this happened, they're going to be adults, and they're going to have to go through this and live that horror again. Now, the thing is, you're right in saying that, he may not get out, but the fact is that by allowing parole at that stage, it gives them the possibility of getting out, and who's to say what a parole hearing would determine? They could very likely say, well, he's served his sentence, and justice has been done, and, therefore he could go free, and that's the thing. Like, how can anyone justify someone who committed mass murder, took the lives of people who were brothers, fathers, uncles, sons, and then say that, well, you know what, it's just the case of the way the ball bounces, and we're going to allow someone to possibly go free in 25 years. This, as I said, this has opened up a can of worms, and we'll see. I actually read something after this came out that there's a very real possibility that the lawyer for Justin Bourque is going to appeal his sentence now based on this Quebec decision.
It makes me anxious hearing about stories like this, and I'm not even nearly one of the people who are intimately involved. It's just from watching the coverage and hearing the coverage of what took place, and it makes you very nervous about what could happen next. As you said, this is a can of worms, a bit of a Pandora's box. Where do we go from here? And I'm interested to see legally what happens next with this case, especially, and if the Crown decides to appeal this decision, and if they're able to. So I'm very grateful that we've had a chance to chat this afternoon about it and to get your insight and your thoughts on this, Fareed. As always, a pleasure to chat with you, and I know that we'll be back in touch.
Well, thank you very much for having me back, and yes, let's wait and see what happens. Hopefully the Crown will see the necessity of appealing this sentence, given what they had originally asked for. Definitely.
I share that hope. Thank you so much again for your time, and all the best to you. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Take care also.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That's Fareed Khan. founder of Canadians United Against Hate, reacting to this decision from the Quebec Appeals Court, saying that the sentence for the man who killed 6 people at a Quebec City mosque, injured more than a dozen others, that his parole ineligibility was unconstitutional, based on the right not to suffer cruel and unusual punishment, and also the right to security of the person and liberty. And as Fareed quite rightly pointed out, what about the 6 people who were killed and those who were injured and their families? The cruel and unusual punishment that they've suffered of having their loved ones taken away or their lives taken away. Quebec, give me a break. Appeals court, come on. And as we said with Fareed, we'll be keeping an eye on this to see what happens next if there's an appeal of this appeals court decision. Very interesting.